Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can plot sales and growth rate all on one chart without making it terribly messy, making a nice clean visual that you can use. I got this idea when I was reading through a book about Amazon and how they had two different charts in one where one was on top of the other one, and so it allowed you a really cool way to see two different things at the same time. And so I'm going to show you how we can do that using data where we've got sales here, a monthly growth rate here, and to show both of those values on a nice neat chart. So to do this, I'm just going to select anywhere on my data set here, go to Insert, and I'm going to go with just a regular line chart. Simple enough. So as you can see, the problem off the bat initially when you do this, especially if you've got a growth rate, these are very small numbers. I mean, we're talking about 0.02 in terms of the value because it's 2%. There's 0.02, and this one is 1491. So obviously, the scale is much too large for these small values. So what I'm going to do is right-click, change the chart type, and actually I'm going to go down to Combo, and I'm still going to select a line chart, but I'm going to put one of these on a secondary axis. And as you can see from the preview, now that allows me to see that data. Now, the one thing that's not nice about this, however, is that now it's sort of interfering with my other chart here. So you can see the growth rate now, because it was so high in the month of May, it spikes up and it looks like it's going higher, or it is going higher than my sales chart, which is, a nice trending upward line. So what I can do to fix this is to adjust this scale here. So Format Axis, right-click Format Axis, and I'm going to change this just so my maximum is a lot higher. So I'm going to adjust the scale so that this 10% is going to show up lower, down around here. So to do that, I'm going to change my maximum to 0.2, 20%. There we go. And now it's comfortably lower than what I've got here. So these two charts are not overlapping one another, and they're looking nice and fine. The one thing you may also want to do is add some data labels. So if I right click, add labels, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to format these labels so they are above my values. So it's a bit cleaner, easier to see them, easier to see the growth rate. And I'll do the same thing up here for this one. Add data labels. And again, these can get a bit messy, so I want to make sure they're above. One thing you can do with the data labels is potentially, just shrink them a little bit in size, just so it's easier to fit them. What you may also want to consider doing is get rid of some of the decimal places, just so there's a bit more room in here. So just like that, I've got a chart that shows all that data. And now that I've got that plotted out, I don't really need these scales. Now, the one thing to watch out for with the secondary axis is if I actually click to delete this, it'll get rid of that axis entirely. That's not what I want. I want to keep the axis, but I just don't want to show it. So the easiest way around that is just to set that font to white, so it disappears. And I can do the same thing on this side. I mean, I could delete it as well, but again, the problem is it's going to get rid of that because it's associated with that chart. So easier option is, again, just to set it to white so it's clear, it doesn't show up in there. And just like that, we've got the sales data, and we've got the growth rate down here, nice, neatly organized. And so you just may need to play around with the scales depending on how your data looks. You just want to adjust it so that, this secondary chart below here, that the scale is large enough or high enough that the highest value here does not overlap with this chart here. So that may be a bit of trial and error to see what works and what looks best in your situation. But that's how I would do it, is just adjust that axis and then make it invisible by setting it to white or whatever the color your chart is. And that way you don't have to have the axis showing and potentially being a bit confusing, because with two axes, some people may confuse which chart relates to which axis. So by adding the labels and getting rid of those visible axes, it's a lot easier to communicate the data to your readers.